UFC 320 is next weekend, my boys, and honestly, it is a fantastic card. It's one of the best pay-per-views of this year, and the UFC scene lately has been bone dry. Dana White's putting all of his efforts into boxing. We have gone a month or two, or even, it's about that range, a month or two of no pay-per-views, and the first pay-per-view back is stacked, and it's starting up the trend that October is going to be one of the best months in UFC history, okay? And it all caps off with this card. We have a great main, co-main, feature fight, main card, prelims are looking pretty good. We're probably going to see a lot of finishes, bangers, and I am excited for it. And today I'm going to be giving y'all my full card predictions and breakdown for UFC 320 going down in Viva Las Vegas, okay? Just starting off with the first one we got here. Brahimaj. Is that how you say it? I botched the hell out of it, okay? You know who I'm talking about, though. Brahimaj is going to be taking on Austin Vanderford here, and my prediction is going to be Austin Vanderford. When you look at Brahimaj, he's Joe Rogan's favorite fighter because he exclusively fights in the Apex and he's getting round one finish after finish. People forget, man, about Brahimaj, but in general, I don't know why I made Joe Rogan sound like a golem under a bridge, but genuinely, Brahimaj is on a little bit of a streak right now. He's getting finish after finish in his past few fights, but the common trend I'm noticing in his losses is when he's going against a guy who's a solid enough grappler. They're pretty efficient with the takedowns. They're pretty efficient with just controlling him throughout the fight and earning their way to some kind of 29-28 or 30-27. Bit of a slower decision, and I think that Vanderford, he's primarily a grappler. Granted, it's the big old USA wrestling, so you don't really know how that's going to translate into the upper level of MMA, and I think that Vanderford, even though I'm picking him to win this one, is this the dude that's banging Paige Van Zandt, by the way? Am I wrong about that? Is this the dude that's dating her? I don't know, but I don't know why I had to bring that up like that. Gives him superpowers or something, but I think that the grappling in general has looked good against the opponents he's fought. He's good at getting his takedowns in. He's got a submission on the Contender Series, and he got some nice ground and pound TKO over his last opponent for his actual UFC debut, okay? So I think that Vanderford is a solid grappler, but I don't rate his competition too highly. It's somebody who went like 0-1 in the Contender Series, and then it's like Verentennikov, who I'm going to talk about next, and he's like 1-3 in the UFC. But I think that Brahimaj, even though he's on a streak right now, he's losing to like the Max Griffins, the Court McGee's. It's not too crazy a competition. He could pull off some kind of crafty win here. He's dangerous in the early goings of the fight. He's a win one, lose one fighter, but I feel like it's still at the UFC level. He's managing to get these wins and finishes, and look at his last performance against Billy Ray Goff. You could point that out and go, that's not too crazy a competition, and even that opponent, Billy Ray Goff, motherfucking sounded like Theo Von gone wrong. He showed low fight IQ in that fight. You could argue put himself into a dangerous position, whereas Vanderford kind of just gets the fuck after it and is a bit more aggressive and just better at controlling guys, whereas Brahimaj, he's getting these finishes and he's doing it while being impressive, but I think that Vanderford has the better grappling, and I feel like he's going to utilize it well. He also has the height and reach advantage, and I feel like his striking isn't too crazy, but he can hold his own on the feet, and his chin can probably be able to survive against the power of Brahimaj. I'm going with Vanderford via a round 2 sub or a 29-28 decision. Moving on up next, we got Soriano, okay, sounding like someone from the literal Sopranos, taking on Verentennikov. Shout out UFC for teaching me how to say foreign ass names like that. But my prediction here is going to be Soriano, man. This guy over his past few fights has been an absolute dog. Whether he's winning or losing, man, it's a very high pace, very high output on the feet. He's either getting fucking finished or even the ones where he's going to the distance, okay? He's landing like 150 significant strikes compared to like the 5 that the other guy landed. So he's going out there and he's being an S-tier marauder. And I think against Verentennikov, he can get finished. He can get cracked on the feet. He can even get fucking controlled on the ground. And he's, like I was saying earlier, he's 1-3 in the UFC. And even after that loss against Vanderford, I remember the bullshit where he shoved him after because he thought it was bullshit. And everybody thought that he was going to be cut from the UFC. But he bounces back with a split decision win over Francisco Prado, who, if you asked me a year ago, I'd be like, that's a solid win. But Prado is like 1-4 in the UFC. Unfortunately, so I think that Verentennikov is going to lose this one. I think he's going to get finished due to the early pressure and aggression and power from Soriano. I feel like he's going to crack Verentennikov. And even if he wants to mix it up on the ground and really implement the ground and pound, I could see that as well. But there's nothing in Verentenikov's game that really stands out to me as too great, especially in the UFC level. He's 13-6, and even though he does have the height and reach advantage here, and he's coming from the big old Kazakhstan, a region that produces some pretty good fighters, I just think he is the one that kind of misses the mark. You know what I'm saying? This ain't Shavkat, this ain't Asu Almabayev. This is Verentennikov, and I think he's going to be cut after this one. Who knows? He can definitely get this one done. It's an early prelim matchup, so who the hell knows? But in general, I'm going to trust in the power, aggression, and momentum right now for Soriano. I feel like he's more comfortable in that dogfight scenario, whereas Verentennikov is either getting finished lately or coming up short in these kind of bit of slower decisions. You know what I mean? So I'm going with Soriano, man. Moving on up next, the fall off is crazy, dude, okay? It's like the guy in high school who you think's going to go on to become a doctor, and instead he becomes your dealer, okay? It's Patchy Mix, bro. I respect him for the quick turnaround. I mean, he's doing what he has to do here. He's going to be my prediction to win this one. But he's taking on Jakub Wicklax. He's from Poland. He seems like a pretty good fighter on the regional scene. He's definitely a little bit younger here, and he's suffering from a slight height and reach advantage. But he could definitely get this one done, man. He's an underdog here, but honestly, Patchy Mix, I picked you once, motherfucker, and you let me down, okay? No head movement, no footwork, no output on the feet, no shooting of the takedowns, which, again, that's his bread and butter. I feel like I haven't seen too much out of Jakub Walckuz. I sound like Chael Sonnen pronouncing these names. Pahuchi Mix and Jacob Wallachek. I really, Daniel, I believe these guys are the best fighters in the world. I really don't know how to say this dude's name, and I'm going to be such a casual, but I just don't know too much about him. He also seems like in his own right, he's a pretty good grappler, a pretty good submission artist. So I think it's going to be an interesting clash of styles here because both guys, their bread and butter is mixing it up on the ground. But again, for Mix, man, the UFC debut, I get it. It's going against Mario Batista, who is a pretty solid fighter. Definitely had the striking advantage, and he just throws so much more output. He was piecing him up. But Mix, you could argue, was just the pressure of the moment or low fight IQ, but he was just not throwing any shots on the feet until the third round. He had just the jitterbugs in there. He had the Beetlejuice, okay? And not even shooting any takedowns. Not even shooting any takedowns. Everybody in the build-up, me included, my dumbass, people forget, man, Cap. I said Patchy Mix is going to mix in the grab one. I think he's going to be able to be the one that kind of snaps Batista's streak here. But Batista's now facing Umar Nurmagomedov, a literal Hitler versus Stalin matchup. But I think that Mix here, I think with the quick turnaround, I think that the fact that he was 20-1 before Mario Batista level, and I think the fact that Batista is a good fighter in his own right, I don't think that it was too rough of a loss for Mix if he's able to get this one done and continue to kind of move on the upwards trend. If he loses this one after being bunked from like the featured fight of a big card, not a big card, but a featured fight of a pay-per-view, all the way to being bunked down to the early prelims against somebody who's making their UFC debut, he really needs this one, bro. He needs it because getting these 2 losses in a row, man, and all the hype of coming in from Bellator, and I feel like we might have overhyped him a little bit, but I feel like the skill set is still there. He still is a good grappler. The striking is still solid. He's not too powerful, but he can crack here and there. But clearly he's going to rely on the grappling. So I am excited for the scrambles that we're going to see here. I wish I had more to tell y'all about this Polish dude. And again, I'm sorry that I don't know too much about him, okay? I'm sorry. I'm a casual here, but seems like a good grappler. But I just am going to be trusting in Mix to really show the urgency, to show a big statement. Probably is offended that he's on the early prelims, and show why a lot of people were hyped for him to get in the UFC in the first place. He's probably done talking a bunch of shit in the build-up, which was fun, but you can't do all that and then just get 30-27 and barely throw anything on the feet. You know what I'm saying? So I think he'll throw more output this time around. I think he'll actually try and mix in the wrestling and maybe even try and shoot for some kind of finish here, but we're going to have to see, man, because Wicklash, I know he's making his UFC debut, but I believe he's from KSW, and he's shown pretty solid takedown defense, submission entries, and in general, he can kind of hang in a dogfight, it seems like, but I'm going to be trusting a Mix to get this one done. I'm going with him by 29-28 decision here, okay? Moving on up next to Daniel Santos taking on Ju Sang-yu. The Korean Conor McGregor, a lot of people are calling him that. He's going to be my prediction to win this one. He's a slight underdog. It's a bit of a risky pick because I think that we haven't seen too much out of the grappling. Even if you look at his record on the regional scene, you know, 1 submission win. We haven't seen too much of the grappling in general, let alone at the UFC level. And Daniel Santos, he is kind of green. He is pretty young. He is kind of building a lot of momentum right now. He's on a good win streak. He's a good prospect to invest in, but I don't know if he's exactly going to be like that top 10 level. And we also have a lot more to see out of him in the UFC. So he definitely, I feel like, is going to have the grappling advantage here. He shoots a lot of takedowns. He's pretty efficient with it. He's not a huge finishing artist or anything like that, but it's just the unknown with Ju Sang-yu's grappling, to where if he does have poor takedown defense, or he's weak in the scrambles, or he's not strong on the ground, or poor defensive grappling, man, I could see Daniel Santos beating him up with some ground and pound, making quick work with his takedown, takedown entries, and being able to control Ju Sang-yu. I mean, he just did that to Jung Young Lee, which is pretty much just the same people in different fonts. No offense, I'm sorry, okay? But he has experience doing this. I feel like he could do it again. But the thing is, man, Santos, he is a good fighter. He's a good prospect to invest in. There's a reason why he's the slight favorite here, but he is beatable. Whereas Ju Sang-yu, he still has that undefeated aura. And granted, 2025 is the year where so many undefeated fighters are losing their own. I'm not saying that Ju Sang-yu is going to be a next top 5 fighter, okay? But I do think that he is good. He's slick on the feet. He's powerful as fuck. He got a sick round 1 knockout in his last performance, and he's having a relatively quick turnaround here. And I understand that it was against Jekka Saragi, who is a bit of about as jobber as you can get right now in the UFC level, but still, he caught him in the same way McGregor caught Aldo, and people forget, man, but I still am going to rate the power pretty solidly here, the fluidity, whereas Santos is on a win streak, but he's a bit inactive in his career, and I'm sorry if I sound like a casual here, but I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's injuries or personal issues or whatever, but he didn't fight all of 2024, and he's trying to bounce back and fight twice this year. But in general, Ju Sang-yu, he seems like the better striker, the more powerful striker. He's fluid, and I feel like that he might be able to find the chin of Santos, okay? I know he's only lost once in the UFC. I'm not sure if he's ever been finished, but his one UFC loss was via going to the distance, but ultimately he just got pieced the hell up, and I don't think it was by too crazy a competition. It was Julio Ars. I don't even know who the fuck that is, okay? So, but in general, I'm gonna be going with Ju Sang-yu via a round 2 knockout. I'm trusting in the power and the striking here, but who the hell knows? It's a bit of the riskier picks here. Moving on up next to Chris Gutierrez versus Farid Basharat. This reeks of an Apex co-main event, but it somehow made it to one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year, okay? But Chris Gutierrez, man, he's not gonna be my prediction here. I'm gonna be going with Farid Basharat to get this one done. He's the favorite, and I feel like the trend in Gutierrez's career here is that he had so much hype, and then he gets, on a bit of a win streak, and then he loses to someone who's kind of slightly above that kind of ranked level or something, okay? The Cody Durdans, the Pedro Munizes, the Song Yadongs. Well, Song Yadong is a fantastic fighter, but still, man. And then he goes once again, gets back in the win column, and comes up short once again, okay? And the thing is, I trust in the grappling here at Basharat. He's an undefeated fighter. He's pretty efficient with getting his takedowns in. He racks up good control time. He seems pretty strong on the ground, but I think his striking is on the weaker end of things, okay? And in general, his grappling, it's not too devastating. It's more on the controlling you and dragging you out to a decision, more so than beating you up with ground and pounder, aiming to get a submission in. So Basharat, he's not too entertaining. He doesn't really stand out compared to a lot of undefeated fighters. Like, Basharat is one of those fighters where you're scrolling and you see a full violence post, and it's like, all the undefeated fighters remaining for this year. And you got to zoom in on this guy, this motherfucker, and you're like, who is this? It's Farid Basharat, okay? I still think he's going to get this one done, though. Gutierrez, I feel like he has solid takedown defense. But in general, his grappling, when it goes against a guy who's solid enough with his takedown entries and solid enough to be able to mix it up, he does come up short, okay? Song Yadong was able to take him down a couple of times. He was able to get taken down a couple of times by Cody Durden as well and controlled, which ultimately took that fight to a draw. And I know that Gutierrez, these aren't too many losses in general, but I still think that Basharat, I'm going to rate his grappling a better here. I think he's going to aim to get some kind of smudge fest on the early prelims here. I feel like he's going to be shooting for a lot of takedowns, and he's going to be pretty successful with some of them. Again, Gutierrez, he's got solid takedown defense. He definitely has the striking advantage here. Definitely has the power advantage here. But again, when is the last time that Gutierrez got a finish, okay? It was like 2020 or 2022 or something like that, okay? Joe Rogan might have had hair. What the hell am I talking about? But in general, Farid Basharat is going to be my prediction here. I smell a 29-28 decision. Gutierrez might have moments in the first or the third on the feet, get scrappy in the pocket, maybe find the chin of Basharat, but I just think that the grappling prowess is going to be too much, too efficient with the takedowns, and I feel like this is going to be a boring as hell 29-28 decision here. Moving on up next to Edmund Shahbazyan taking on Andrew Muniz. And I like this fight, man. My prediction here is going to be Shahbazyan. I know that right now he's on a bit of a streak, okay? And I'm not saying it's against the most elite competition, but I'm rating it pretty solidly, man. He used to be ranked a few years ago, and then he kind of was winning one, losing one, and now he's kind of building up more momentum than he has in the past couple of years. So I like that for Shahbazyan. When he was being that kind of win one, lose one fighter, I mean, really until very recently against Andre Petroski. The allegations with Shahbazyan and the big kind of thing with his career is that he does gas himself out after the first round. Like, if this fight goes to the second and third, you already know whoever is facing Shahbazyan, blank insert their name, is going to be able to beat him, okay? That's really how it was going, okay? And he wasn't just losing, he was getting finished. And granted, it's not too bad of a competition. It's Gerald Mearshart, it's Fluffy Hernandez, it's Nasruddin Imavov, Jack Hermanson, Derek Brunson. So his losses in the UFC aren't bad. Against Andre Petroski, Petroski, it was like the first fight in so long. I mean, really ever in the UFC, it seems like, to where he was patient, he was technical. He still found the chin of Petroski too. He got a knockdown in, but it seemed like he was a bit hesitant against Petroski, not because Petroski is the most dangerous fighter in the world or anything, but when he was cracking him, or when he was finding the right shots, when he was out striking him, it just seemed like he didn't follow up with more devastating shots to really try and finish him. It seemed like he would crack him and then just kind of back off a little bit, and then crack him, or maybe like, you know, piece him up in the pocket and then just kind of back up a little bit. And compared to usual, when Shahbazyan would just go fully all the way, would just full send it, he's just going bull mode and would just completely try and marauder his way through. And it either worked out very well and he would knock the guy out in a round, or he would make it to the second unsuccessful and then end up losing, okay? But against Petroski, it actually went to the distance. He was patient, and he still was able to have moments. He was still able to get a knockdown in. And I think that against Muniz, I don't know why Muniz reminds me of like the human version of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, but I don't know what it is, man, the build or the style or whatever. But when he first made his way in the UFC, of course, man, he was on a win streak. He was very efficient with the grappling. He was getting a lot of submissions, but he is beatable, man. He can get finished. He can get knocked out. Once he fought Brendan Allen and Paul Craig and Ikram Aliskerov, I mean, just slightly stepping up in competition here, man, he came up short. And ultimately, he got a win over the Iron Turtle, I believe that was like a year or two ago. But that was his only win in his last 4 fights. And a lot of people thought it was a robbery, okay? It was a bit of a smudge fest, and in general, he was really relying on the grappling. But Young Sun Park was just piecing him up on the feet. And I feel like this guy, he can get knocked out. He can get outstruck. Shahbazyan, he has more momentum right now. He's the better striker, the more hard-hitting striker, and I feel like that his takedown defense is solid. I'm going to be going with him via some kind of round 2 knockout here, or a 29-28 decision. Moving on up next, I mean, Jesus Christ, another one of these minus 1,000 favorites that you just get every here and there on a pay-per-view, but Atiba Gautier, man, the mini Francis Ngannou, and he's going to be taking on Ozzy Diaz, and I mean, honestly, for this fight, man, y'all know me, I'm a yapper, but I really don't have too much to say. Like, Gautier is one of the safer picks on this card. I mean, it just cut to him just getting knocked out or submitted, okay? That'd be terrible, because there are concerns. He's very young. We don't know too much about the grappling. Like, his takedown defense for what it has been is pretty solid, but he's not facing the most like elite competition in the world or anything like that. And again, he has power that can feed families, okay? He can feed generations with it. He can crack. He's getting bonus after bonus, and Dana White's got the Looney Tunes hard eyes for this guy. But I feel like he is going to be able to find the chin of Ozzy Diaz. I think Diaz is a solid fighter. He's a solidly well-rounded fighter, and the only people he's lost to are Zhang Minyang and Joe Pyfer, who are pretty fucking good, okay? For the upper weight classes, you know what I'm saying. But in general, he's 1-1 in the UFC Knockout Contender Series. And even though it wasn't the most elite competition, he was able to outstrike him, put on a bit of a dogfight, and look good in that fight. But I think Gautier, man, if you're getting knocked out by Pyfer, if you're getting knocked out by Minyang, I think that Gautier is on a similar level, and I think that he could be more powerful. But again, who the hell knows? I don't exactly think this is a step up in competition for Gautier, and it seems like Ozzy Diaz is being sent to the wolves, okay? And usually, not to push my glasses here, but statistically, but statistically, when these guys are over like a minus 1,000 favorite, they're usually winning. Unless you're like Peyton Talbot at UFC 311. I'm still not over that, but unless you're that kind of scenario, usually these guys are winning in devastating fashion. I'm going to be trusting in the momentum and the power and the striking and just the speed. Maybe he'll get exposed on the ground. Maybe he'll get taken down here. And really, talking about Talbot versus Barcelos, maybe that could be this situation, but I'm trusting in Gautier to find the chin of Ozzy Diaz. This is the feature prelim spot. It's a big spot. It's a big highlight reel moment for Gautier being set up here, and I feel like he's going to be able to capitalize on it and get this one done, okay? He's very young. We don't know too much about the grappling, but fuck it. All right, so moving on up next to open up the main card. We got Marauder versus Marauder once again here. It's Abus Magomedov taking on Joe Pyfer, and my prediction here is going to be Joe Pyfer. I mean, I think that Magomedov can get this one done. Hey, man, people forget, but he truly used to... It seemed like yesterday, this guy was getting an Apex main event spot against Sean Strickland. Here's the fucking thing, you guys. Never send this bitch-ass German my way. I'm going to do it for you fucking guys. I'm going to go to war for you guys. Magomedov got knocked out by Strickland. And ever since then, yes, he has bounced back. He's on a bit of a win streak right now. And against Michel Pereira, I believe that was his latest win. It was a dogfight in the first half, but in the second half, you get reminded once again that this dude has cardio issues. I mean, I know that Joe Pyfer gassed out against Jack Hermansson, his first big step up, but really, Magomedov, this guy is known for just having cardio problems in the UFC, okay? He's like the guy you see on the cross-country team that's pretty goddamn on the big end of things in terms of his size. And you're like, how the hell is this guy running miles? That's how Magomedov is, except if you take off all the blood. But for the most part, he does try and aim for the finish. I don't think his striking is too crazy, and I don't think it's too powerful, but he seems pretty durable. I mean, you got to point out like the Strickland win, obviously, and like that is kind of a statement because Strickland usually does not get finishes. And I would rate the power of Joe Pyfer alone, not necessarily the striking and everything like that, but the power alone of Pyfer higher, of course, than a guy like Sean Strickland. So I'm going with Pyfer because I feel like he's going to have the striking advantage. He's going to be looking to make a statement after his last fight against Gastelum, which wasn't too bad. Like, Gastelum did ultimately have way more moments than he should have, but Pyfer did clearly win the fight, especially that first round, man. He knocked him down twice, and in the third, I believe it was, he tried to mix it up on the ground, got a takedown in, and sent him flying to the moon, like Marab was trying to take down Cejudo when he stuck that tongue out like, you know what I'm saying? So Joe Pyfer, I feel like, is going to find the chin of Magomedov here. Like I said, though, Magomedov, I think, could be the more well-rounded fighter. The little glimpses we've seen out of Joe Pyfer on the ground, he does look good, but I feel like he doesn't utilize it too much. Magomedov can mix it up, I feel like, more than a guy like Joe Pyfer. I feel like we've seen a little bit more out of the grappling, and he's been pretty efficient with it, like submitting guys like Bruno Ferreira and getting efficient takedowns in on a lot of his opponents. But I feel like with the cardio problems, with him getting cracked by a guy like Strickland, with him kind of being a bit of the slower fighter, and I feel like Pyfer is going to be looking to crack him early and follow up with all the right shots. Like against Gastelum, man, like in the second and third, Gastelum was just piecing him up. He was finding the jab. He was closing the distance. And Pyfer was just kind of outstriking him, but he wasn't doing too much to really just like sell the finish or sell the win. I feel like this is a relatively quick turnaround here for him, and I feel like he's going to be really aiming for the finish. Like Dean Thomas was even in his corner being like, we can finish this guy. Let's go for the finish. But it seemed like he was a bit hesitant for it. You could argue we saw pretty similar vibes against Jack Hermansson, but that might have been a bit more of a skill gap or cardio problem. But I feel like Albus Magomedov, he did used to be ranked, but I don't think he's too crazy at competition. I trust in the power. I almost said the Pyfer of power. The power of Pyfer, the momentum. He's training with Sean Brady. And again, I mentioned that because I bring that to you, Daniel, because I mean, Sean Berhoudi and Joe Pyfer. I mean, these guys are really the best fighters in the world. I bring that up because, like I said, what we have seen out of the glimpses of grappling from Pyfer gives me confidence that I don't think Magomedov is going to be the guy to really control him or outpace him or outdog him or beat him up with ground and pound. I think that it's primarily going to be a striking battle. And with that said and done, I believe that Joe Pyfer, I don't know why I proclaim that like a president. With that said and done, but with all that being said into account, I'm going to be trusting in Joe Pyfer. He's opening up the main card as well. UFC and Dana White are giving him another big shot here to prove a statement. I think he realizes that, and he will capitalize it, okay? Because remember in the last time when he got the post-mic or the post-fight interview and he's like, I'm sorry, oh, I know it was a stinker. I'm sorry. Like, I feel like he's not trying to do that again, okay? So I feel like I'm seeing a round 1-2 or knockout here coming from Joe Pyfer. Maybe a decision, but hopefully not. You know what I mean? So moving on up next to Josh Emmett versus Youssef Zalal. And honestly, y'all, out of all the fights on this card, this has only been the really one where I'm going really back and forth about it. Like, I can really see myself changing my prediction. I don't know, the day before, the week before, I don't know, man. But this fight stresses me out, dude. But honestly, I'm not going with too many underdogs for this card, and I know I shouldn't keep that in mind with logic. Okay, you got to use the fighting styles, and you got to use the momentum. You got to look at the records and the stats, okay? Not just base it off the vibes. And I'm not basing it off the vibes, but I am going to go with Josh Emmett. I'm looking at that plus money. I'm looking at the higher experience. I'm looking at the power advantage. I'm looking at the striking advantage. And I feel like this is the year of the Unks, okay? Tim Elliott, Kamaru Usman, Volkanovski, all these guys are getting wins, okay? I'm not trying to compare Tim Elliott to Volkanovski and Usman, but you know what I'm saying. A lot of Unks have been holding down the fort this year, really holding their spot in the rankings or whatever for certain divisions. And featherweight, you could argue a lot of the young guys are taking over. And even look at Zalal's most recent win. Like, Cater is a guy similar to Josh Emmett, like power puncher, relied on the striking, but he's getting up there in age and he's on a bit of a losing streak right now. And the young generation's taking over. And Zalal was piecing him up for the early goings of that fight. Like, it was a straight up Zalal win, but of course we all know the third round and he was running away. And I feel like against Emmett, I don't think Emmett is necessarily like too better or more powerful of a, well, definitely more powerful, but I don't think in terms of just being purely a striker, he's too much better than Calvin Kattar. Like, when they actually fought, a lot of people thought that it was a robbery, and that fact that Emmett won was kind of bullshit, and that Gautier deserved to win, and blah, blah, blah. He did more, whatever the hell it was. But Emmett, man, it is risky to go with him here, because against a guy like Lerone Murphy, who is on the back foot a lot, and he knows how to avoid really big shots, and is still able to outstrike you, and is still able to win these fights consistently without putting himself in too dangerous of positions. I feel like that against Emmett, man, like Lerone Murphy ultimately was able to do enough to play it safe, and was able to efficiently get back up after the takedowns from Emmett, avoid all the biggest power shots. And Emmett, man, he was kind of swinging for the fences, and he did get a couple of takedowns in, but ultimately, I feel like the age showed. And Lerone Murphy, though, I do rate as a higher level fighter than a guy like Youssef Zalal. I get that Zalal's on a great comeback story right now, but my point with this is I could totally see Emmett losing, because with the whole style of playing it on the back foot and playing it safe and just avoiding these big shots, man, Zalal did that very well against Gautier, okay? And I feel like that I do trust Josh Emmett to really find the chin more of Zalal and actually crack him. Like, if Emmett was in that same scenario that Gautier was, I feel like that he might have actually been able to knock him out and find that right shot, or even maybe not even last till the third round. Maybe Josh Emmett gets a round 1 KO, okay? But honestly, I'm going to go with a round 2 KO or a 29-28 decision here for Josh Emmett, man. I know he's on a losing skid. I know he's the much older fighter. I know he's suffering from the height and reach disadvantage, okay? And I know that Zalal stylistically is a rough matchup for him, because Emmett does not do well against these guys who kind of play on the outside. And for Zalal, man, like, he is a bit of a sniper. He is precise. He has a better ground game. I feel like he's gonna, you could argue that Emmett has fought better competition, though, and actually taken them down and shit like that. And Zalal really hasn't yet. But the dude earned his way back to the UFC. He got cut, and then after like 1 or 2 years, he went back to the hyperbolic time chamber, came out, and he was a better fighter, man. And he is clearly, like, I mean, he has so much more just kind of momentum on his side right now. He's so much more of the promising fighter. And again, this is just why this fight stresses me out, and why there's so many reasons to go with Zalal. He has the style to survive against a guy like Emmett and be able to pull off some kind of win. He's barely ever been knocked out in his career. I don't know if he's ever been knocked out in his career. Like, sure, he has about the same amount of losses as Emmett does. He has 5 losses, but never really been knocked out in the UFC, man. But you could also argue that Emmett is the hardest hitter that he's ever fought, okay? Like some Jeremy Stevens shit. This fight just stresses me out, dude. I don't know who to go with here. It's so frustrating, dude, because as I hear myself talk, I want to go with Zalal. But, oh my God, fuck it, dude. I'm going to switch my pick. I'm going to go with Zalal. I'm going to go with Youssef Zalal. And if I end up changing my pick to Josh Emmett, I'll do that. But I just feel like it is the smarter pick, man. He's a big favorite. Josh Emmett's on the very tail end of his career. No, I'm going with Josh Emmett. God damn it, dude. I don't know. I'm going with Josh Emmett. Oh my God, I'm going with Josh Emmett. I'm going to move on. I feel like he'll be able to find the chin of Zalal. He is beatable. Maybe he'll outstrike him. Maybe he'll mix in the takedowns. Whatever it is, decision or knockout, I'm going to be going with Josh Emmett. If he loses this one, he genuinely might be done in the UFC. And I feel like he wants to go out on some kind of win. And Zalal, he's a big favorite here. I named off every reason and a half why you should go with him and why he probably is the smarter pick. I might change my pick to Zalal. Clearly, I already have once in this video. But I'm going to be trusting in Josh Emmett to find the chin of Zalal. I feel like that I'm going to rate his striking a little bit better and obviously harder hitting than a guy like Gautier. It's a big step up for Zalal here, but I could see him getting it done and making his way in the top 10. He is a good fighter. There's a big changing of the generations right now. Like, it's some one-piece shit in the rankings, and genuinely I could see Zalal getting this one done, but I'm going to be trusting in the higher level UFC experience, the power advantage, and just it being the year of the youngs, I guess, and the fact that I need some kind of underdog, because you know that not all the favorites are going to win on this main card, so I guess I'm going with Josh Emmett, man. Maybe I'll change my pick, but who the hell knows. Moving on up next to Yuri Prochazka. Let's go for that. I now have master's degree. Love seeing that for my boy, okay? One of my favorite fighters, and my prediction to win this one, I can't believe I just said all this before I even said his opponent's name, but it's Khalil Rountree Jr., man, okay? This has fight of the year written all over it. If you look at Prochazka's last fight against Hill, it was already one of the best fights of this year, and then if you look at Rountree's fight against Pereira last year, one of the best fights of last year, you know what I'm saying? So both these guys are very capable of entertaining, of just chromosoming or lack thereof. They're chromosoming their way through these fights. They're these dogfight scenarios. I know for Khalil Rountree, his last outing, it was against a good opponent, Jamal Hill. Obviously, he's on a skid more than he's ever been in his entire career. Somebody call help, but in general, it's a good win for Khalil Rountree, but in general, it wasn't the devastation or the war or the finish that we thought it was going to be. It was a 49-46. It was pretty patient and technical, which we didn't expect it. We expected a little bit more of a urgency to crack, because don't get me wrong, Khalil Rountree's power was exemplified just as much as fucking always, okay? He just didn't get the knockout, but he got multiple knockdowns in the fight. He was chopping up the legs of Jamal Hill, and he was sending him crumbling, and in general, it was a good performance, but just not the statement we expected it to be. But I guess, really, if you look at it on paper, his best win before that was Anthony Smith, and it was like Dustin Jacoby, I believe, by like robbery split decision. So at least he's moving up. But in general, I think that Prochazka, that's the difference maker here, because Khalil, when he's kind of stepping up to that competition, like, of course, before that, he could be comfortable in a dogfight. Look at the pressure he brought to Pereira, but when he gets very patient like that, obviously he is successful, but I just don't think that Prochazka's style allows that. Like, he's constant pressure. He's constantly moving the hell forward. He's constantly getting the fuck after it. He's constantly putting these people, whether you are comfortable or uncomfortable, or used to or unused to, these dogfight scenarios, he brings that out of you, okay? And I feel like that's why he would be dangerous for a guy like Magomedov Ankalaev, but that's a different conversation completely. Rountree definitely can get this one done, even though his resume isn't too crazy. His power is there. His Muay Thai base is there. He's a fast striker for the heavier divisions. He could take a shot. He's got a durable as hell chin. I mean, the common trend between these two, okay, they're like this. It's like US and A together, because they have the common trend that they did get knocked out by Pereira, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that, man. Pereira has insane power, one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time. And for Prochazka, the reasons really why I'm going with him to win this fight is because I do rate his striking better. I like that he's improving his striking defense and his head movement and his footwork. He's becoming, I mean, he's always been very dynamic and versatile and hard to figure out on the feet, but he was just pure offense. He was just ultra ego with it. He was just constantly going forward, and most of the time, it works out very well for him. And he's even more well-rounded than a guy like Rountree or Pereira, I believe. At least he's able to submit Glover to Shera. At least he's able to shoot takedowns here and there. But in general, he's a stand-and-bang fighter. And, of course, both these guys do thrive on the feet. They both are strikers. And I do think this fight will end in a finish. I mean, 3 rounds or 5 rounds or not. I'd be shocked if this ends up going to the distance, okay? I don't think Prochazka's had a single fight in the UFC where he's gone to the judges' scorecards. But in general, man, that goes to my point to where he's just setting this pace that's just drowning guys, man, okay? Even though he doesn't win every single round. It's not like a Khabib drowning guys, okay? And just like winning every round, and it's just complete domination. Prochazka has some scary moments. He can get cracked. He can get caught. And again, that's why the lack of head movement was so worrying. But now I have master's degree. I learned head movement. I really do think these improvements, the fact that he's faced and beaten better competition, I feel like way better competition. It's a bit of a short and sweet run he's on right now. He'll stick around for a few more years and continue to build on it. But in general, there's more names, and the only guy he's lost to is Pereira, whereas Rountree has had multiple losses. And in general, I feel like Prochazka is the more powerful striker. I feel like he's fought and beaten better competition. I feel like he's got the better record. I feel like he's got better chin. I feel like he has a good style to go against a guy like Rountree, because Rountree, sure, again, when he's patient, it works out for him. And when he's trying to aim for these knockouts, it works out for him. But I just think that there is a bit of a difference between a guy like Prochazka, who can really give challenges for a guy like Ankalaev, versus Rountree, who's powerful and definitely gives you someone to worry about on the feet. Again, it says fight of the year written all over it. The betting odds are relatively pretty close. A lot of people are going with Rountree, but I just rate Prochazka higher, okay? More well-rounded, better striking. I see a round 2 knockout going here for Prochazka. I could totally see Rountree getting this one done. I fuck with him. I respect him. And I love this fight. Great matchmaking. But in general, I'm going to be going with Yuri Prochazka via a round 2 KO. Moving on up next to the co-main event. And he's here once again, man. Merab Dvalishvili, man. Hey, guys. Cody Sandhagen, I'm sorry, but I have better striking than John Jones and GSP combined. I'm going to knock you out. Merab is hunting for the finish for this one. He's the champion, fighting for the 3rd time this year. If he beats Sandhagen, he's kind of entering that territory where he could start to be lapping the division. And he's taking on Sandhagen, man. He's taking on Corey Sandhagen here, who's a big underdog, and I'm going with Corey Sandhagen. I just can't, man. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. However the fuck they say it, but I picked Sandhagen to beat Umar, and he got 49-46, okay? And with Merab, man, I mean, Jesus. I picked O'Malley to beat him 2 times. I picked Umar to beat him. I mean, we all picked Umar to beat him, but Jesus Christ, man. I'm really learning my lessons here, so I swear to God, if this is the fight where Merab ends up actually losing the one time I'm starting to pick him, I'm going to be upset, to say the least. And I'm also starting to just really rock with Merab, not even because of just, oh, he has the belts, and now I'm just going to switch over to Merab. I love his mindset as a champion, man. He's finishing O'Malley. He's putting on Fight of the Year against Umar Nurmagomedov. He's active as hell. He's taking on all contenders. He could take on Song Yadong, Mario Batista, or Nurmagomedov rematch. Who the hell knows? But there are options for Merab. He's the bantamweight GOAT, or very close to it for some people, but I think he's the bantamweight GOAT. And I struggle to find a reason in my head to go with Sandhagen besides just some kind of fluke. Really, man, and there's nothing wrong with Sandhagen. He is a great fighter. He's a great striker. I feel like the fact that he's become a bit too technical, a bit too thinking in the head, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. A little bit too much of that is constantly going on. We're kind of strayed away from the finishing ability until very recently against Figueiredo. Great win, but you know what I'm saying? He developed ground and pound, and it was great to see. But in general, the performances before that were decision. And granted, when he was losing, it was only to very elite competition, like Umar Nurmagomedov or like Petr Yan, guys like that. And even then, he makes it relatively close. Those are like two of the closest 49-46s you'll ever see, you know? Sandhagen isn't really the type to just get walked on or finished early unless you're like a Sterling. And even then, that was like a damn near decade ago, it feels like. But Sandhagen, man, we know against Umar Nurmagomedov that the takedown defense looked great. The defensive grappling and how he looked in the scrambles looked great. It was ultimately his lack of output on the feet and the fact that Umar looked like the better striker, crazily, is what ultimately cost Sandhagen that fight. And yes, I mean, Umar shot his fair shot at takedowns and definitely made successful of most of them. But you know what I'm saying, man? Umar's a fantastic wrestler. And the fact that Sandhagen was efficiently able to get up so quick, like even though Sandhagen was unsuccessful against Umar and Merab's grappling is pretty comparable. Like obviously they're both in S. They're both in S+, okay? When like Sandhagen, he's very good on the defensive end of things. He's shooting takedowns against guys like Rob Font and Song Yadong and Chito Vera, but it's a different story when you're going, I mean, I just said they're in the S tier. It's a different story when you're going against these guys like Umar and Merab. And Merab beat up Umar and was shucking off most of his takedowns and was landing takedowns of his own and was pointing to him and laughing on the ground and like was just showing cardio for days, for generations. So when I look at this matchup, man, Sandhagen, you could argue the takedown defense is there. He's the better striker. He could be precise, even though he's been, you know, kind of straying away from finishing ability lately. He's getting back to it, so who the hell knows? He can get a fluke KO. I just can't go with it, man. I just can't. I'm sorry, dude. And, like, I want to see it. Well, I really don't. I fuck with Merab. I like Sandhagen, too. It's not really a lose-lose. Like, if Sandhagen wins, we get fresh matchups, and it's a big upset. If Merab wins, man, we're running this. We're rolling the title run. It's just going to keep on rolling. So he'll be back in February. I just think the cardio is too good. I just think the wrestling is too good. I think his striking is getting better. His striking is improving. He's getting in the pocket and he's out striking against guys like Sean O'Malley in the rematch and against Umar Nurmagomedov in January. I rate Sean O'Malley's striking, and I could argue even Umar's, because Umar fucking outstruck him and pieced him up. I rate their striking at this point higher than a guy like Sandhagen. So obviously I feel like Merab could piece him up on the feet. God forbid he's saying, hey, I'm actually going to get this fucking knockout. Hey, I will shut up everybody. Maybe Merab does get the knockout, but genuinely, regardless if this does go to the distance or Merab gets a finish on the feet or on the ground, I think it's going to end somehow for Merab, man. It's going to be a 49-46, or maybe Sandhagen takes the first and Merab fucking dominates the rest. Maybe it's a submission on the ground. Maybe he fucking chokes him out earlier or a bit later than he did O'Malley. You know what I mean? Because I would rate Sandhagen's grappling, especially defensively, higher than a guy, well, just no matter how you fucking put it. I would rate Sandhagen's grappling higher than a guy like Sean O'Malley's. It's at least more proven. We've at least seen more out of it. He's at least more comfortable down there. And Sean O'Malley treats it like a cat treats water. You know what I'm fucking saying? So Merab, I just feel like regardless, is just too strong on the ground. He's too efficient, and he has the cardio to just back it up. Most of his takedowns aren't going to land, but the fact that he gets just enough in to control you, to maintain it, and maybe even get submissions now because Merab is getting finishes before we got GTA 6. It's a crazy thing, man. So I'm going with Merab via any of the above. I hope I'm not jinxing it. I mean, even if I am, who gives a fuck? But I hope I'm not jinxing it. But I just really can't see Sandhagen winning this one. Like, Merab is one of the locks of the card. And I know that because if Sandhagen wins, man, it's a massive deal, not only in terms of because he beat the bantamweight GOAT, but like, this shouldn't happen. This is not the time. There's a reason why he's a plus 400 underdog. It could happen, but it's around like the ballpark of like if Poirier was going to beat Makhachev. Really, like that's about what I could compare it to. But even Poirier, I think, had a bit of a better chance here. Again, I don't even know, man. I think Merab's going to be comfortable in the pocket against Sandhagen. I think he's got a good, durable chin. He's got way better wrestling, way better cardio, and I just see him winning this one by any of the above. Decision, submission, or knockout. I don't know. He could just pick and choose at this point, but that's what I'm going to be going with here, man. And moving on to the main event, and now we got some beef with it. Now the rivalry is kind of kicking up because God knows the UFC isn't going to promote it. But the main event in the rivalry now between Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev, the rematch, it's a tough one to call, but not as tough as I feel like the first one was to call. But I'm going to be going with Magomed Ankalaev. I really hope Pereira wins. Like, I don't dislike Magomed Ankalaev, but the thing is, I just am very neutral towards him. I'm like the round SpongeBob of feelings towards Big Ank. Like, I don't really have any emotions. I would prefer Pereira to be the champ 10 out of 10 days. I'm sorry. I'm not the biggest Pereira fan. I'm not a poetard or anything like that, but I'm just saying, man, Pereira was so active, so entertaining, so many finishes, and I feel like he has lost a lot of that aura that he had. I'm not saying that entirely had to do with just because he was on a win streak and because he was knocking out everybody, because he was getting close to that DC status, but I just feel like because of the fact that he lost to Ank, yes, in a very close fight, but because it was such a stinker, and because Ankalaev was the one who landed the biggest shot of that fight, and he did outstrike him, it was just a rough look for Pereira, because Pereira was supposed to be the best striker in the division, the best striker the UFC's had for years, and he's above Izzy and above everybody, and he has the power to go with it, but just Big Ank stood in front of him, took all of his best shots, and delivered many more of his own, okay? So my pick is just going to be Ankalaev because I feel like that this fight, there's going to be, I'm just talking about Merab earlier, right? I feel like that this fight reminds me of a Merab versus O'Malley rematch, except this one actually makes sense why they gave him the rematch. But I say this because the first fight was a stinker, but it was a close fight, competitive for the champion turned loser, but it was close in the numbers, and he's primarily the striker, but the wrestler just got to him. But the difference is Merab actually used his wrestling. Like, Pereira showed great takedown defense, but I think that Big Ank is much more of a striker than a wrestler. But regardless, the rematch with Merab and O'Malley, much higher paced, much more output. They were in the pocket way more. O'Malley had big moments, but Merab had bigger moments, and it actually ended in a finish. I feel like that's what this is going to be as well. I feel like that this is going to end in a finish regardless if Pereira or Magomed Ankalaev wins. Maybe it's a submission for Ankalaev. Maybe it's a knockout. Honestly, I could see a knockout more than a fucking sub. Pereira's takedown defense looked great, and I feel like that this one's going to be a more high-paced dogfight, so who the hell knows, but I just feel like that this fight isn't going to be a stinker this time around, and I feel like that it could be close for as long as it lasts, but I feel like both these guys are going into this one now with a bit of resentment for one another, man. Pereira is upset that this guy who everyone viewed as the boring jabroni who didn't deserve, or I'm sorry, that people didn't want to see get the title shot, and everybody just loves Pereira. Everyone's got the hard eyes for Pereira, and now Pereira is the one without the gold in his shoulders, and he's challenging for the belt. He's lost a lot of his momentum, and now it's not his first loss in the UFC. You know what I'm saying? They're there. My point is, and if he loses to Ank a second time, especially if it is another stinker, or God forbid Ank finishes him, it would be a rough look for Pereira. But I feel like that definitely he can get this one done. He has the kickboxing. He has the credibility on the feet. There was a reason why the first fight was so close. The takedown defense looked much improved. But you got to think, Pereira was so hesitant on the feet and wasn't throwing too much output and was getting outstruck ultimately because the takedown defense looked great at the cost of him being on the back foot for most of that fight, worrying the whole time, kind of just overthinking a bit of like, when are the takedowns coming? When are the takedowns coming? When are the takedowns coming? I got to be ready for it, because that's obviously the biggest worry for Pereira going into a matchup on paper against Ankalaev. That's what everybody was saying for the first fight. Oh, this is his first real wrestler. Oh, it's his first real wrestler. I mean, I would say Blachowicz definitely challenged him on the ground, but I got the point. Like, I know Ank is much more of a striker, but at least for a light heavyweight in a division that's full of strikers, he really was the closest thing to wrestling. So you could argue, man, that Pereira really was just so hesitant on the feet because he was just anticipating the takedowns the entire time. And yes, ultimately, the takedown defense looked great. Like, Ank went 0 for 11, I believe, with takedowns. But in general, he still won the fight. You know what I mean? He still outstruck him. He still rocked him really hard at the end of that second round. And Pereira was kind of shook up. You know what I mean? Who knows? I mean, I'm going to sound like Joe Rogan here, but who knows if there was another minute to that fight? People forget, man. It's Adult Swim now, friend. But I'm just saying that I think this time around, man, man, Ankalaev, I'm going to go with the knockout here. I think that Pereira, his striking is fantastic. I hope he doesn't lose this one, but I just feel like there's a reason why he's a bigger underdog. I think Ankalaev is going to be more confident going into this one, and he's going to be expecting less of the takedowns. Like, he wasn't even shooting for the first half of the fight anyways the first time around, but I feel like that this time around, these guys know that it's going to be a bit more of that stand and bang energy, and maybe that makes Pereira more susceptible to getting taken down. Like, maybe the fact that he was so hesitant and focused on defending the takedowns is why ultimately Ank was unsuccessful with it. Maybe if it is more of a dogfight, maybe if it is more of a striking battle or a higher pace, maybe Pereira's takedown defense rate, instead of being so successful like it was the first time, maybe that does go down. So who the hell knows? But I just think that even though Pereira can get this one done, he's the former champ, I just feel like Big Ank just entered into his prime. He's 31 years old. He's already beaten a lot of guys in the rankings, whereas Pereira kind of had his time. And like, usually these rematches, especially the immediate rematches, like the guy that's challenging once again for the belt that lost it the first time, they usually don't win here. You know what I mean? Unless it's like those special cases or certain guys or they got that aura. But I just feel like, unfortunately for Pereira, I could see him just moving up to heavyweight after this. He's like 38 or 39 years old, so he's not going to be faster than ever. You know what I'm saying? He might not be the best version of himself right now, but regardless, man, I just got to go with Ankalaev this time around, man. I feel like his striking he's going to be more confident in. I feel like he could crack Pereira. He could knock out Pereira. Pereira, for the most part, he does have a good chin. He can get in the pocket and come out, for the most part, pretty unscathed, but it does get worrying sometimes. The guy, you know, I know he was weight drained, but he did get knocked out cold by Adesanya. He did get rocked by, I forgot his name. This is the problem. Ankalaev. You know what I mean? I forgot he's the damn champ, but in general, man, regardless of that, regardless of how I feel about him as the champion, he's a very good fighter, man, okay? I feel like he's more well-rounded, obviously. I feel like he's going to go into this one more confident. I feel like he can get a knockout in here. He definitely can get caught in times, and I feel like Pereira can get this one done, but ultimately, I'm going to be trusting in the skill set and just being the younger fighter, more momentum on his side, and Magomed Ankalaev here, okay? And moving on to the blanks of the card, man. Who am I going to go as my underdog of the card, my locks of the card, my wild card of the card, and my card rating? All these are self-explanatory, but I will get to each one as I get to it. So just starting off with the underdog of the card here, which of my underdog picks am I the most confident in? I only went with Josh Emmett and Ju Sang Yu, and Lord knows if y'all saw the damn video, you know how unconfident I am in the Josh Emmett pick. So I'm going to be going with Ju Sang Yu, man. One of my only two underdogs here. He's a very slight dog. I can even see the odds changing. Maybe he becomes a pick'em or someone like that. But I'm going to be going with Ju Sang Yu via, like I said, a round 2 knockout or whatever the hell I said. But I'm going with Ju Sang Yu as my underdog of the card. Moving on up next to my locks of the card. Which of these fighters am I picking to win that I believe I'm the most confident in? And I do not think they're motherfucking losing. It's not the most controversial picks in the world here. All right, I'm playing it safe. But I'm going with Merab Dvalishvili. And I'm going to be going with Atiba Gautier, obviously the co-main event and the feature prelim. I think that those two guys are going to be the winners here. And they are going to be my 2 locks of the card, okay? Because if Ozzy Diaz and Corey Sandhagen the next day end up winning, dude, it's going to be a crazy thing on the scene, all right? Moving on next to my wild card of the card, who is somebody that if they win, man, they can really shake up the rankings of the division. They're being pretty overlooked. Like, a couple people are picking them, but it's like a people forget man kind of pick, but they can get it done, okay? Who am I going to be going with here? I'm going to go with Josh Emmett. Fuck it, dude, because with these wild cards of the cards, if y'all know, like, most of the time, they're not actually people I'm picking. Like, usually it's quite the damn opposite, but for Josh Emmett, I actually am going with him. I feel like when you look at the fan poll, most people are going with Zalal. When you look at the comments, a lot of people are saying, you know, Emmett struggles with the style. Zalal is one of the safer picks. And obviously, he's a big favorite. So I feel like that he is, for a lot of people, Zalal is a really safe pick, and even I might switch to him. But as of right now, man, I mean, regardless, even if I pick him or not, he is my wild card of the card here. I feel like he might be getting a little bit overlooked because of his age, because he's losing, or on a bit of a losing streak right now. But who the hell knows? He can get it done, and if he does win, man, and maintains a spot in the top 10, it'd be fucking huge, man. It wouldn't just be big, it'd be huge. I almost threw Corey Sandhagen on here, but I feel like that's the basic choice. You know what I'm saying? So moving on now to my card rating. What am I going to rate this card from 1 to 10? Obviously, I rate the pay-per-views harder than I rate the fight nights. A 5 out of 10 pay-per-view is going to be a much better card than a 5 out of 10 fight night. I'm going to give this one an 8.5 out of 10, man. I love it, dude. It's a main event that isn't the most captivating in the world, but you know what? It's a rematch that's deserved. It was a champion who was on top for so long. Now they're beefing. So I'm excited for the main event. We'll probably end in some kind of finish. It's very high stakes for the division. Whoever wins that, man, they can rule for the next few years. Who the hell knows? But The co-main event, obviously we got Merab with the bantamweight GOAT status. The feature fight could be fight of the year. The main card in general looks great. The prelims, I mean, I didn't cover the WMMA fights. There's a couple of those, but in general, it's a lot of bangers. We could see a lot of finishes. There's decent name value to this card. You got Patchy Mix, Joe Pyfer, Adam Gutierrez, yada, yada. Chris Gutierrez, all right? So in general, I love this card, man. It's nothing like the craziest thing we've ever seen, like some UFC 300 or something like that, but it's a great card. There's really nothing to complain about here. I feel like a lot of finishes and excitement is what we're going to see. And like I was saying to kick off this video, this really kicks off October being one of the greatest months to ever be a UFC fan, okay? So I'm very excited for this card. It's got me in the car listening to Face the Pain on loop. I don't know if y'all do that too. When it's like around that big fight time, okay, I just get so fucking hyped for this, okay? So I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10, man. It could be a little bit better on the prelims, and you could have maybe like a better main card opener or something like that, but that's just me being picky and choosy with it, man. I love this card. I'm so excited. It's fantastic. I hope there's no pullouts, and I hope it delivers, man. Very hyped for it. 8.5 out of 10, okay? And that's going to be it for the video, man. I appreciate y'all for making it this far and giving me your time and attention. And truly, boys, truly, it means the world to me, so thank you very much. I genuinely hope you have a good time watching the card this weekend, and let me know in your opinions in the comments below. I'd absolutely love to hear it, man. Let me know your picks. Let me know your underdogs or your locks, and just in general, your thoughts on the video, okay? Where did I sound the best or the goddamn worst, okay? I'm sure the Emmett versus Zalal rant was pretty far down on the spectrum, but it is what it is, man. I really appreciate y'all. Be safe if you're going out this weekend watching the fights, or if you're watching alone or with the homies or whatever. Have a good time. Hope you enjoy it, man. All the smoke here. Thank you so very much, and I will see you all next time.